Singapore is well known for its Marina Bay district with fancy modern skyscrapers and elaborate shopping malls. If you're visiting this small island nation, it's an absolute must-see. But if you have a few extra days in the country and want to see a more authentic look into the older charm of Singapore, there are a few inner neighborhoods you must check out. In this video, I'll take you to Little India, Kampong Gelam, and Chinatown, wandering colorful colonial streets, exploring religious temples, and trying cultural cuisine. I had a day to weave through these districts, and here's how it went. Good morning, guys, and welcome back to Singapore. This is my second video here in Singapore. A couple days ago, I showed you guys a little bit more of downtown Singapore, the Marina Bay Sands area, which is the very iconic part of Singapore. You have this really futuristic architecture, some really cool buildings, and you're right along the water there. And I showed you guys how to have a free day there, all of the cool things and activities that you can do without spending anything in one of Asia's most expensive cities. And there's a whole video on that, so you can check that out if you want. But if you guys have an extra day or two here in Singapore, I'm going to show you a couple more of the things that you can do outside of the Marina Bay Sands area. First of all, I'm going to be starting here in Little India, which is this really cool older part of town. You have a lot of these old colonial type buildings with these orange roofs and just colorful facades to the streets. So just a very cool, colorful place to walk around. And also being Little India, you have this very Indian demographic. It feels like a less chaotic India. You have a lot of the sights, the sounds, the smells of India. There's some cool temples to check out, some cool architecture, and just, again, really beautiful, colorful streets all throughout the Little India here. Later on, we'll check out a couple other peripheral neighborhoods of Singapore, like Chinatown, and there's this cool Sultan Mosque that I want to show you guys. But we're starting here in Little India, and right through the heart is Serangoon Street. So let's start down Serangoon Street, and we'll head towards the Indian Temple, which is this really cool, towering building in the middle of Little India here. So let's walk down Serangoon and check it out. I've just come halfway down the Serangoon Road here, and I'm in front of the Veera Makali Amman Temple, which is this 3-story tall Hindu temple that's like right down the middle of the Serangoon Road. And the temple here worships the goddess Kali, and Kali was known to be a unifying force throughout the world, and so a lot of Hindu pioneers who came here to Singapore came here and were rest assured that their travels and their time here was going to be safe. So let's take our shoes off and we'll head in and check out this Hindu temple on Serangoon Street. Just went in the temple, and that was just such a cool, authentic Indian cultural experience. You really felt like you were in India for a little bit there. There were all of these priests, and they were doing all these ceremonies. There was fire and flowers and tons of these really cool statues. And yeah, just a very authentic Indian experience. Again, you could feel like you were in a little bit of India there if you've never been there. Very cool. So anyways, I'm back out on the streets here, and just about a block and a half from here, there's this really cool, old, colorful Chinese palace that I want to show you guys. Let's walk through these colorful streets and head to this palace. I've just walked about a block and a half and I'm in front of Tan Tang Nia, which is this house that was built in the 1900s, and it's a classical Chinese villa palace of a wealthy merchant that lived here and owned a lot of sweet shops and a rubber factory around here. And again, it was built in 1900, and it's only been more recently that it's been colored in this very colorful kaleidoscope rainbow colors, and it's become quite the attraction here in Little India to come here, and great place to take some photos and yeah, just admire this really cool colorful architecture. So yeah, let's kind of walk around the building here. I'll show you guys some of like the window shutters and some of the colorful tiles along the roof and just some really cool stuff here. I'll show you guys that, and then we'll keep exploring Little India. That was such a cool building and so unexpected. I knew there was all these really colorful buildings, but I didn't know that there was that old Chinese palace here amongst Little India, and I found it on a blog. So anyways, again, just walking around here in Little India, you have so many good food options and it just smells so good. You have all of the smell of incense and of spices. So I'm gonna try to find some really good Indian food, which isn't hard to find here. But on the blog, I also saw that there's this traditional Indian place where they serve your food on a banana leaf, and it's just a block or two from the Chinese palace. So let's walk around and see if we can find some good Indian food on a banana leaf. I just found the banana leaf Apollo since 1974, so I'm gonna go in, get some traditional Indian food on a banana leaf, and I'm super excited, super hungry, and again, I've been smelling Indian food all day, so let's head in and check it out. Alright, I was picturing that was going to be like a little hole in the wall place, but that was a very fancy and a little bit more expensive than I pictured. But honestly, some of the best food I've had in Singapore so far. And the banana leaf was honestly a little bit of a novelty. It wasn't really served on there. It was served in dishes, but you had the banana leaf there. So anyways, let's continue walking around Little India a little bit here. Again, there's so many really cool, colorful buildings, and there's so many murals around here. Almost every other building just has this beautiful traditional mural, very colorful. So let's walk around and just enjoy some of the cool architecture, some of the cool Indian shops, and again, just some of the murals that we'll see walking around Little India here. So that was it for Little India. Very cool, very colorful, a fun place to walk around. So anyways, just about 2 major blocks from Little India, there's this other little colorful neighborhood called Kampong Gelam, which is a traditionally Malay neighborhood and has a really cool golden domed mosque and some other cool, colorful, colonial looking buildings. So let's just walk a couple blocks south of Little India and we'll check out this other little neighborhood in the outskirts of Singapore. I've just made it to Kampong Gelam, which again is only like a 5-10 minute walk from the Little India neighborhood we were exploring this morning. And this is a traditionally Arab neighborhood. It's one of the oldest urban areas here in the old part of Singapore, and I haven't really explored this area much, but I've heard it's this really kind of trendy, up and coming neighborhood with lots of cool restaurants, bars, cafes, shops. And then right in the center of the neighborhood, you have the Sultan Mosque, which is this huge mosque with these big golden domes. So let's head right to the center here and start by checking out the Sultan Mosque in the center of this neighborhood. So I went to the mosque first here, but the visiting hours are only open from 10 till 12 and 2 to 4 p.m. And it's 1 p.m. now, so I have about an hour to kill until I can go enter the mosque. So I think I'm just gonna walk around the Kampong Gelam area here. Again, I've heard that there's lots of really cool trendy shops, and it looks like it's another neighborhood that just has really colorful colonial buildings and really cool architecture, and you can see some cool modern skyscrapers off in the distance, and there's just tons of really cool street art and graffiti. So let's just kind of walk around this neighborhood a little bit for the next hour, and then at 2 o'clock we'll go check out the inside of the Sultan Mosque. This neighborhood has been really cool to explore. I'm staying in Little India, so this hasn't been far from me, but I really have not explored this neighborhood. But this is one of my favorite places so far. There's just so many really cool hip cafes and bars, and there's these really colorful streets. There's this one street called Haji Street, which just has a lot of these bars spilling into the street. You have some really cool thrift stores and a lot of other really cool cultural shops, and then just so much cool graffiti and street art. But anyways, it's about 2:15 now, so the mosque has just opened for visitors, so I'm gonna head over there and check out the Great Sultan Mosque. That was the inside of the Sultan Mosque, and honestly, as a visitor, you can only really go into the front entrance and just look into the worship area, and it's not that impressive. I think more of the views of the outside and the Golden Dome are what's really impressive about the Sultan Mosque here, so I wouldn't worry about going in if you miss the visiting hours or anything. But overall, this Kampong Gelam neighborhood has just been really cool. There's so many really cool hip shops and cafes and restaurants, and it's totally worth just wandering around these colorful streets here, checking out some of the cool street art and some of the cool shops in this neighborhood. But anyways, there's one other neighborhood I want to show you guys today, which is Chinatown, which is way on the other side of the downtown district of Singapore. So it's about a 2-mile walk from here. You can take a metro or a subway if you would like, but I think I'm just gonna walk across town here and head to the other side of downtown Singapore and show you guys Chinatown. I have just walked all the way across Singapore, and I'm just to the west of the Marina Bay area and the kind of downtown district, and I'm in Chinatown here, which is another little series of blocks that has a majority ethnic Chinese people. So you'll see a lot of Chinese writing, a lot of Chinese shops. There's a lot of really cool food stalls and everything, but dominating the Chinatown here is the Buddha Tooth Relic Museum, which is this 5 or 6 story temple that was built in 2007, so it's not that old of a temple. It's pretty modern, and it's said to have a relic of one of Buddha's tooths that was found in Myanmar in the 1980s, or at least that's what the legend says. So anyways, the temple closes at 5, so let's start our tour of Chinatown by heading into the Buddha Tooth Relic Museum here. So I've just explored the lower couple levels of the Buddha Relic Temple, and it's this really nice new modern facility, and there's a couple museums, and then on the bottom floor there's just thousands and thousands of these little Buddha statues, and you can walk around. There's a big prayer room in the middle, and then near the entrance there's a little elevator that can take you up to the 4th floor, and the 4th floor is just beautiful. There's another little prayer room, and then there's an altar area that's completely covered in gold, and that's where the Buddha Tooth Relic is, and you can't take any photos or videos in there, so you'll just have to come and see that part for yourself. But just a beautiful, beautiful interior room. And then this feels like a complete secret. So from the relic room, there's a little staircase in the corner that takes you up to this orchid rooftop garden. So we're up on top of the temple here, and you're completely surrounded by trees and this pagoda style architecture. So you're not really getting views of the city, but you're just elevated up above the whole city. You have a nice breeze here, and then in the middle there's a little prayer wheel that you can spin around. But just amazing temple to explore. Definitely worth coming here and checking out this Buddha Relic Temple. Very, very cool. So let's explore the rooftop gardens a little bit, and then I'll head down and show you more of Chinatown. So that was the Buddha Tooth Relic Temple here, and again, just this giant temple right here in the heart of Chinatown in Singapore, and very cool interior, just so beautifully done, very ornate, just tons of really cool statues and just a lot of really cool stuff to see in there. So let's just walk around Chinatown a little bit. I know there's a lot more colorful old colonial style architecture, and there should just be a lot of really cool shops to check out. So let's just wander around Chinatown and check it out. It's been super fun just walking around the Chinatown here. This is just one of the cleanest and hippest and most artsy Chinatowns I've ever been to. There's so many cool murals, and again, all of these colonial style buildings are just so colorful, and it's so fun and interesting to see these colorful colonial buildings with the Chinese writing all over them. And then on the edge of the Chinatown here, there's known to be one of the cheapest 1 Michelin star restaurants in the world, and it's the Lao Fun Hawker Chan behind me. And so let's head over there, check out the food here, and see why it got this Michelin star rating. So that was really good, and inside they had a bunch of newspaper articles that explained the story a little bit more, but I guess he had a little like food stall in one of the food courts just across the street here. So the original's in there, but I've heard, if it even exists anymore, that lines can be hours and hours. But so now there's all these like fast food places based off of the recipe that won the Michelin star. So very good. I mean, when you have a Michelin star, there's like really high expectations, but it was really good fast food for a good price. It was like less than $5 for that meal. So one last thing I want to show you guys here in Chinatown is right next to the People's Park complex, which is this really tall yellow building. I heard that there's a little parking garage that you can go up to, and you can look out over all of Chinatown here, and then you can see some of the skyscrapers of Singapore off in the distance. So let's see if we can check out that parking garage and get one last view of Chinatown. It took a little bit to find it. It was this weird little shopping complex below, but I took the escalator up to the 5th floor, and then you can go across the top of the parking garage here, and then I found this little balcony that just has these beautiful views. You're looking right over Chinatown. You can see all these orange tiled roofs, and then you can just see the contrast of these sleek modern skyscrapers just elevating in the distance. And yeah, very cool view up above it all. And yeah, so let's walk around the rooftop here a little bit and get some different angles and some shots of this unique angle of Singapore. Alright guys, and with this unique view of the skyline of Singapore, I think I'm gonna wrap up the video here. And again, just another really cool day, almost more cool and more surprising than my Marina Bay Sands day, because I was expecting like really cool architecture there. But here there were so many cool neighborhoods to check out, not too far from downtown Singapore. It's all within a mile of downtown Singapore. But checking out Little India this morning, and then Kampong Gelam, and then ending up here in Chinatown, just all three really cool neighborhoods. And especially Kampong Gelam just completely surprised me at how hip and cool and trendy that little district is. So many cool bars and cafes, and just a really fun time. And Singapore is just one of the safest and cleanest countries in Asia, and every neighborhood just seemed super clean, super easy to navigate, very safe. And with all of this old colonial architecture, you just have all of these really cool, colorful colonial buildings, and it's just really fun to photograph. And there's so many colorful murals, and yeah, just very vibrant and a lot different than just the sleek, shiny skyscrapers of the downtown Marina Bay district. Of course, I'm sure there's so much more you could see on this little tiny island nation. I've really only seen the major city area. I still don't really know what's on the rest of this island, which isn't that big, but it'd be fun if I had more time to explore more off the beaten path places on the island of Singapore. But that's it for now. In 2 days, I'm off to my first new country in a long time, so I'm very excited to take you guys there. We'll be going to the little tiny oil-rich country of Brunei, which is not far from here on one of those islands in the Java Sea. So thanks for joining me here in Singapore for the last 2 videos, and I'll see you guys in Brunei next.